Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach's Corner. Welcome to this wonderful Sunday of Coach's Corner. I'm always grateful and blessed to share this very, very powerful knowledge with my amazing colleagues here. And today we're wrapping up. Wow, we've been at it the last couple Sundays. Right? Covering the 12 most the 12 universal laws, like the most well known, we'll put it that way. And as you probably can tell, a lot of them are connected to each other. And the reason why we chose this is because it's good to understand these laws that you're a part of that operate all the time.
Mhm.
And most importantly is to create the life that you want, using these laws and attracting things or manifesting things, but also living happier, healthier, and wealthier. Like, who wouldn't want that, right? So without a long intro, make sure you engage with us. If we say anything that's really speaks to your heart or resonates with you, feel free to drop comments as well live. And most importantly, if you feel like this material will really help you towards what you want in your business or personally, just reach out to one of us and set up a free complimentary call. We're always here to help. So I am Jamel Matias. I'm in the Maryland area, founder of Believe in the Unseen Consulting, trained by the late great legend Bob Proctor. And basically, I help hardworking but unfulfilled professionals who know they're capable of more, yet feel stuck in a cycle of effort without progress. So they're maybe lacking clarity or direction and the subconscious programming needed to create the income, freedom, and life they truly desire. So it's all about believing in that goal, believing in that dream, and I help guide you to that. My purpose is to reveal the hidden potential within you and just guide you to your truest desires. So I'll pass it on to my amazing colleague, Paul.
Thank you very much, Jamel. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Paul Wooters, a success mindset mentor, Proctor Gallagher consultant, and I'm also the head of the Leadership and Development Department at the World Life Education Center and High School here in Oakville. And I help people learn how to move beyond what seems possible and discover how to set goals that truly transform your results, your confidence, your future through self-leadership, and to build on those dreams, to turn your wishes into dreams, something that you can build on and really create your life by design and with intention, and to live to your greatest possibilities. Lou.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. We appreciate you being here. And if you're catching the replay, welcome. My name is Lou Perica, and I am a success mindset mentor and speaker. And I work with growth minded women, and many of them may be in some sort of a transition in their life. And they're women who feel like there's more for them, whether it's more success, more fulfillment, more alignment in their life, but something just isn't fully clicking. So a lot of women that I speak with are doing all what they consider the right things on the outside, but still not seeing the results that they want. And that can feel very frustrating and very confusing. So what I help them do is to understand what's actually driving their current results, and how their thoughts, their interpretations, their feelings, and their patterns are influencing everything. And once they see that, things start to shift in a very real and lasting way. I am excited to be wrapping up these universal laws. There's many, many, many laws, but these ones, we are always operating within these laws. And that's why we felt that it was very important to bring this to your attention, these laws to your attention, because by bringing the attention, and your awareness, our awareness to this laws, it's very empowering because we all operate within the laws. They're a system, and we actually get to choose. We are actually creating our own reality, our own experiences, and our own contributions, but we are working within a system. So this is why we felt it was very important to bring this again to our audience. And I'm looking forward to wrapping it up with the perpetual transmutation of energy today. Jamel,
Here we go.
here we go.
And not to feel left out, I'm putting my glasses on. So I had to clean them there. So you'll get the full effect here. And hello to everybody here live with us. Wow. Thank you for joining us here live. And thank you, Lou, and thank you, Paul, as well. So where's okay, great. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. So this law right here, they're all magical, right? And I get excited talking about it. The law of transmutation or perpetual transmutation. First, to understand this law, which is a big one, right? And I'm so glad look how the universe works. We ended up on this law on the last episode, and we have plenty of time to talk about this law, which is good. So what does that mean? The law of transmutation, mutation. Listen to that, right? When you think about that, I think about Incredible Hulk. He had a mutation where the gamma rays made him super strong, right? It changed one thing into another thing. And that's kind of what this is all about. So to understand it, first, we are a three-part being, and this is explained in different ways, but we are spiritual beings. We have an intellect, which is, so-called knowledge, and we have a physical body, right, to interact with our physical environment. And that should really paint the picture of what that means. The law of transmutation states that energy moves in and out of physical form. Wow. In and out of physical form. So, a good example is clouds. Clouds, if you look at them, they're always temporary. I don't know if you ever laid in a field or on the grass or in your yard and just looked up and watched the clouds and say, oh, that looks like a donkey or that looks like a tree or a rabbit or a duck or whatever, right? Or a stick person. This thing, maybe it looks like this, But the point is, look at Lou, she's always on point.
I know we're going to be using it today.
Wow, my pin would go great with this shirt. I'll put that on later. So the point is, clouds, they're moisture from the ground. So if you ever looked at fog in the morning, it rises and it actually goes from that fog up into the sky. But that transmutation, you can't see it. It's invisible to the naked eye. But when you see the clouds are very visible. So when those clouds collect and they get dark and rain comes back down. So all it is energy changing form in different ways. And this example, you're creating that with everything in your life. It's going from the unseen into the seen, the spiritual into the physical. And that's why Bob always said upside down, inside out. So upside down is basically you're going from the unseen or antimatter, if you will, or energy, right, to your physical results in your life. And everything's created twice. Once in the unseen, in your imagination, in the fantasy world, and then in the scene, which is an effect of what you basically been imagining. So I'll pass it on because I can go on and on and on about this law of transmutation.
Yeah, thank you, Jamel.
My pleasure.
So another example is, you're boiling water. You have water in a pot, and you boil the water, and it boils out of the pot and becomes steam, right? Or conversely, maybe you freeze that water. So it's, the water is still there. It's just in a different state. So as Jamel was saying, this law is that all energy is in motion, it's constantly in motion, and that it naturally is looking for a way to express itself. So energy, it doesn't disappear, it just transforms, right? Becomes a thought, for example, becomes the emotion, and the emotion becomes an action, and then the action becomes a result. So I could be sitting at home thinking, hey, I want to order a pizza. So I pick up my device, a wireless device, and I phone in to get a pizza. And if that goes into action, creating that pizza. But at a deeper level, I think the law is about dominance of a higher to lower frequency. So a higher frequency would be, faith, vision, love, and that, our higher order of thinking reorganizes and elevates from the lower states. So our lower states would be fear, doubt, confusion. So the higher order thinking will reorganize that stuff. It doesn't eliminate it. So you don't eliminate fear, you just transform it. But you have to be careful, because the reverse can be true also. And often we do leave it unchecked, unfortunately. So that lower frequency can pull everything down. And this isn't just philosophy. It really is operational. It's happening in every conversation, in every classroom, with every team, and in every home. So the person who can hold on to that higher emotional and mental state, even under pressure, becomes very stable and and a stabilizing force in any environment. And that's why some people walk into a room and you can just feel the energy shift, even without saying a word. Correct? I'm going to let Lou carry on here.
Well, thank you. So I first wanted to mention the law of perpetual. Perpetual means always, always, forever, perpetual transmutation, going from one form into another. So energy moves to, through, and into form. So I have to go into teaching mode right now, if that's okay, because I think this brings so much clarity. And this is why my colleagues and I, our mentor, anyone who's ever studied the stick person would agree. This brings clarity. So I want you to think of this as you. It's all of us, actually. And if you've been with us before, this top circle represents the mind. The top half represents the conscious thinking mind. The bottom half is your subconscious, your emotional mind, and then here we have the body. And here we have 5 senses, all right? See, taste, touch, hear, smell. I want you to imagine that there is a plug. You're plugged into an outlet of electricity. The electricity just is. It has no personal connection. It just is. It's just electricity. It's just energy. Each one of us is plugged into energy. We're plugged into undefined consciousness, if you will. So, but this electricity, if you will, flows to and through us. But we have these 5 senses here. So whatever we're seeing from our outer world, we are interpreting. Whatever we are experiencing, whatever we are seeing, we're giving it some sort of meaning. So we're using our thinking mind, we're taking our 5 senses, we have this energy that just is, but now this energy is being transmuted by our thoughts, how we see things, how we hear things, taste, touch, and smell things. We're interpreting all that information from our outer world. We're taking this undefined energy, we're giving it some sort of definition, right? Through our thinking mind, it goes through the subconscious mind. So this blank energy is now transmuting into how we're interpreting things in our outer world. We start behaving, we create these thoughts over and over. They become beliefs. The energy's flowing to and through us to the body. And this is how we start to behave, how we start to act, how we start to show up. And our thoughts, that energy that just was energy, that electricity was just electricity, whether you're cooking a dinner or cooking a person, you're deciding how to use it. And this is how we get our experiences, our results, our outcomes in life. So we're taking this energy and it's flowing to and through us. And then we are getting our results in life. But the beautiful part is we get to choose. We can take that energy and make it into what we want. So if we're fearful or doubtful or confused, we actually have the ability to pause. This is why the power is in the pause. It's in awareness. And we can shift fear into faith. We can shift confusion into clarity. We can shift doubt into certainty. But we have to pause. Does this happen? Am I perfect? Do I go through things? Absolutely. Do I have moments of where I'm fearful, doubtful, confused? I absolutely do. But I know when I'm feeling that, I know because I understand, I've studied, I understand, and I understand that I operate within these laws, that I have the ability, because I am the highest species there is known that we know of, that I can take how I'm interpreting my outer world, and I know I have the ability to shift my perspective. And when I do that, when I start to go onto the darker side, if you will, I just have to take a deep breath and say, whoa, okay, I can continue to think those thoughts. And when I think those thoughts, I feel it in my body. So if it's fear, doubt, confusion, my body, I feel it in my chest tightens up. And then how do I behave? I typically, if I'm thinking those thoughts and feeling those feelings, I pull back. I withdraw. I retreat. And I know that's not how I want to show up. So I know I have the ability. And sometimes I have to sit in that little pity party by myself just to go through it. Okay, I'm feeling really bad. I'm feeling sorry for myself, or whatever it may be. But I'll only stay there a very short time, because I know through all the study, through my mentorship, I am sending out those frequencies. So I do not want to be in that state for long. So I kind of allow myself sometimes to have a very short pity party all by myself. And then I say, that's enough. Let's change the thoughts. So this is why understanding that, I watch a lot of on Netflix, like national parks, the beauty of our oceans, etc. Right? So all of these nature shows. And as I'm watching the whales, the seals, the deers, the bears, and all the wildlife, I realize we too are a species. But we are the highest form of species, right? So we're not the deer, we're not the fish, we're not the birds. We are humans and we have the ability, unlike the animals who have instinct, and they have the seed that's been planted in them. They know how to survive in the wilderness, in the wild. They know, right? I was watching a little sea otter dives for clams. It was so cute. It was swimming on its back, and he got himself a little rock. So as he has these clams in his hand or whatever, he smashes them on the rock. I thought that was hysterical. But there has been a seed planted within that sea otter to know to do that. But we get to create. A sea otter can only be a sea otter. The deer can only be a deer, but we can be anything. This is why we are the highest species, because we have an intellect. So this is what it means, but the perpetual transmutation of energy, meaning we take that energy and we can create with it. That's why we're creators. Jamel.
That's so good. Amazing. Amazing. That gets 2 rounds of applause. One for Paul as well. That's so good, Lou. You know, I had a question. Do you happen to have a sea otter there, you know, that you can kind of demonstrate?
I'm sure if Alicia was on, she would have something. And let's just give a shout out. Alicia's not feeling well, so we're sending her some healing vibes to her. But
Yes.
it's true. As I watch these nature shows, I'm watching them, and it's like they all know how to survive, but we can thrive. And you do really learn a lot by watching the animal kingdom and where we stand within nature. It's really quite fascinating for me, anyway.
Yeah, for me as well. I didn't know you're into that, Lou.
Oh
So
yeah,
thanks
for
sharing.
sure.
And you're not the only one that was watching nature shows. I was watching them actually all week with my daughter.
Yeah, me
And
too.
giving her, you know, some new content, you know, just to see the animals and the world we live in. And you can learn so much from watching nature.
Absolutely.
Some of the purest forms of you know, knowledge and experience. And thanks for explaining that, because what this is, you're basically creating nothing into something, right? And let's break down that word, nothing, no thing.
Mhm.
So it's just pure. And we determine what we do with this energy. And guess what? We always have a choice. And that's what Lou was talking about, is having awareness in every moment. And I know it sounds laborious, but this is important because you're basically creating with your thoughts. And this is why mentorship's important as well, because a lot of times we're not even aware of our thinking. And people get stuck in life and they let the outside world shape their thinking rather than thinking. And what is that quote? Let me butcher it here. 2% of people. Oh God, here we go.
1%.
Not 1%.
Think. No, 1%.
No, it's 2%. Yeah. 2% people think, 3% think they think, and 95% rather die than think.
Yes, yeah.
So that equals 100%. So you almost messed me
Very
up. So listen to that. 2% of people actually think. That, stop right there. 2% of people actually acknowledge and realize what they're thinking. 3% think they think. So they have a perception that they're actually aware, right? And then 95% would rather die than think.
It's so true.
So what is thinking? It's being aware, deliberately choosing your thoughts. And your thoughts are creative energy. You're creating with them, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So the more you focus your thinking on what you want, the more you harness your creative power. This is your gift. So for years of my life, I didn't know this. I heard of law of attraction. I was like, okay, let me just keep my vibration high. And we talked about vibration, but it's not focused energy, right? It's not focused. The power of the will allows you to hold an image on the screen of your mind, regardless of all outside circumstances and condition. So you're able to attract things or create in your life based on your thoughts. So your creative power, basically, you're moving that energy into the results in your life. So, and you can do this on a small scale or big scale. It's all a matter of your perception. Like, let's say you just want to, you can focus. Like, I remember Bob sharing, think of someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, right? A relative, cousin, uncle, aunt, whatever, a friend. And lo and behold, you might see a post on Facebook or whatever of them, or they text you, or they just randomly call you, right? You're creating these things with your thoughts. And another one is maybe you wanted to attract some money. Like I remember it was a story where someone attracted $100. They just kept seeing $100 on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden they received a $100 bill, right? So these are so-called small things, but you can create big things as well, right? And I think it's good to start small because you'll learn through experience, not through just words that we're sharing here. You'll learn your firsthand experience, how powerful you really are. I did this all week, actually. I received a lot of money. Thank God, right? So, because I kept thinking about money. I kept seeing the money. It was so interesting because I wasn't forcing things. I was just using this. And I'm a prime living example of what we're sharing here. While I was receiving money, I was receiving more. You know, I woke up to money today. Can I applause that? You know, so I'm doing my gratitudes, right? And all of a sudden I get a text message that basically is giving me more money. I didn't have to go out and fight for it. The universe is responding to my internal creative power. You always have this gift. It doesn't matter if you understand it as deeply or understand all of the laws. Every day you have this opportunity to create your life the way you want. And we're here to help guide you to that and help you understand that. So the universe organizes itself according to your thoughts. I can't force you to think something, right? I can't force you not to think something. You choose your thoughts in every given moment. And that's the true gift. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand that, or they forget they have that gift. And I know Lou and I just talked a lot, so we're going to let Paul go.
It was so good. I was happy to listen. I was happy to continue listening to you.
Thank you.
It's so good. I go back to what Jamel said. You know, 2% of the people think, 3% think they think, and 97 or 95% of the people would rather die than think. And you know, the reaction would be, well, come on. People would say, come on. Like I heard Bob say that many times as well. People say, well, come on, everybody thinks. And he would say, his answer would be, no, mental activity does not constitute thinking. Right? You have all these, you know, 60, 80,000 thoughts into your head during the day. And it's funny, by default, you know, 85% of those thoughts are negative. Why? So you have to, as Jamel just said, you have to choose. You have the ability to choose, right? It's one of our greatest powers. You can choose what to think. You don't have to go to that default thinking of fear and anxiety. You know, faith and fear both demand you believe in something you can't see. So you choose, you decide. And to tack on to what Jamel was saying, you know, attention is like the steering wheel of your energy. You know, where your focus goes, that's where the energy flows. And, you know, so your environment matters because energy is contagious. Repetition of thought builds momentum. So you have that habitual energy pattern. change doesn't just start with action. Sometimes they will change your behavior, change the way you're acting, but it starts with that inner shift, our inner state of being. And when that state changes, then the actions follow naturally. So your thoughts and your emotions are states, and or what your thoughts and emotional states are. They are forms of energy, right? What does that mean? That means that if you're in a negative state, it doesn't have to be permanent. A limiting belief doesn't have to be fixed. Your current result is not final. It's just simply energy in its current form. And so, you don't eliminate it, but you transmute it, right? Transmutation of energy. So your higher level of thinking transforms those lower levels. And so when you shift your focus, when you shift your meaning, when you shift your identity, then you're not fixing life, but you're changing the energetic cause, which must, by law, eventually change the effect. So when someone feels stuck or overwhelmed, that's just a state of energy that they're in. But if they begin to gain clarity, if they begin to focus on solutions, and they start to act with intention, then they're not forcing change, right? Because force negates. They're actually transmuting the energy from confusion to direction to progress. And that's where that's where you'll really see how powerful mindset coaching is. You're not trying to remove something. You're not trying to remove negative thinking. We're just helping you replace and elevate it. Energy doesn't we said energy doesn't disappear, it just transforms. Lou.
Thank you. Yeah, energy. Yeah, so energy, it responds to direction. And we're the ones that give it the direction. Again, here's this power that's flowing to and through us. To and through. And I always think of it as like an L, right? It's coming down and then it goes through the body. We're behaving, and then it just takes a whatever, left or a right. But most of us are trying to fix, if you will, or shift or change how we're behaving or the result. I don't like my income. I want better relationships. I want better health. I'm going to whatever, work harder, look for another partner, or better people to surround myself. Exercise more, which is all wonderful. But you have to understand the sequence. So even when you do change your behavior, you first must make that decision up here. You have to make the decision up here. So trying to change this only without changing the way you perceive things, the meaning you give things, the relationship to money, the relationship to relationships, the relationship to your health must start here, upstream, and then it flows downstream. But if we just try to focus on just the behavior, does it work? Absolutely, it can. But it's typically temporary, because you still have that relationship with money up here, the relationship with other people up here, the relationship with health and yourself up here and in here. So in your mind. So everything starts up here. So we have to take that energy and give it the direction that we choose to give it, not from the patterns that have been established from the past. This right here is the past. How we've learned to do things, how we've learned to interpret things. But we get to choose from up here. So just for like an example, let's say you wake up, you went to bed, and you had things on your mind. Maybe it was money, maybe it was your relationships, maybe it was health, whatever it may be. And when you woke up, you felt heavy because you took those thoughts, those beliefs, those emotions into sleep. And when you woke up, you felt heavy, maybe stressed, discouraged, felt like maybe sometimes like giving up, right? And then you spend that whole day feeding that same energy with negative thoughts and conversations, right? You're telling someone, no, I woke up a lousy mood, et cetera, et cetera. So naturally, that energy is growing because you are feeding it. You are watering that energy. You are giving your attention. Remember, we talked about attention is currency. So you are paying attention to that negative energy. But this law reminds us that we have influence to change things, to shift our perspective. But it takes awareness to do this because we have been living from patterns for decades. Decades. I too, to this day, catch myself sometimes wanting to automatically react to something. And actually, mostly I will. That's why the first thought, typically you cannot control that first thought, that first reaction, because it's a pattern. But this is where your power comes in. Wait a minute. Let me pause here. Let me redirect this energy to what it is that I desire. What am I feeding my thoughts? What am I sending out? Remember, we're like walking antennas and towers. We are constantly transmitting and receiving, transmitting and receiving. So what is our overall energetic state, our energetic signature? I mentioned earlier, sometimes I get in that mood. Yeah, I do. But I understand that it will be very short-lived and that I put my focus and attention on how my state is throughout my day, my state of being throughout the day, which will be my dominant state. And whether you have a negative thought or a positive thought, we can also have neutral thoughts, right? But we get to choose how our emotions, our emotional state is movable, and we get to choose that. I also wanted to mention, Jamel, you were talking about how money comes to us, right? But I also want people to understand sometimes it's not just receiving whatever, $10, $10,000, $10 million. It could also be someone invites you out for lunch or dinner. Someone picks up the tab. Someone gives you a gift. We see there's a coupon in the newspaper. These are all other forms of financial advancement, if you will. So it's not just always receiving some lump sum of money, but every time someone picks up the tab or you buy something on sale. So these are other ways to consider financial gain as well. I just wanted to bring that up. What else did I want to say? Oh, and that we are not, I almost posted this the other day, but we're not discovering life. We're actually creating it. That's so, how so many times we say, oh, my life is unfolding and I'm discovering this about me. And I've said that, and I may continue to say that at times, but I will catch myself. And because when I realize that I'm not discovering life, I am creating it, it puts me in the driver's seat. It's important for me to remember, for all of us to remember, we are creators. We're creators, we're creators, we're creators. So we are creating our life. It's just We are choosing. This is why the power of choice and decision is so powerful. Unlike the wildlife, unlike them, we get to choose. And this is by watching those shows, it really, I can feel by being a human or having the human experience, I can feel the elevation between us and animals. I can actually feel it. But I do also understand that the animals, the fish, the birds, and us, we are all expressions of nature. We are all expressions of this one force and one power. So I just wanted to share that. And should we start wrapping up and doing a recap, Jamel? Or what do you think?
Sure.
What time is it?
Yeah. Let's do a recap of the 12 laws. We have 20 minutes, so you said so much there, Lou. That was really good, and Paul as well. Because the law of transmutation, just to kind of add a little bit before we wrap up with the other laws. It's a stream of consciousness. It really is. You're taking your thoughts and you're creating what you want. So how to basically apply it is very essential. First of all, you got to be aware of your thoughts, or ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I want in my life right now? Because that'll give you the direction that you need.
Number one question.
Yeah. What do you want? Right.
Number one question.
So how to apply it? You want to put your energy and your effort, your thoughts and actions into attracting what you want. Actions, you're basically operating on the physical plane. There's a difference between forced action and inspired action. Inspired action comes from within. Your purpose. Why you're doing it. You're just acting to receive, and you'll surely attract the physical manifestation of that energy, right? So you're just a walking magnet, essentially, right? But it's the intensity of your focus and the frequency of that focus that will basically help you create these things in your life. And before we move on, I couldn't but help, because Lou had my wheels turning when she was speaking. Both of you, I have to, because I've been diving in more into my studies, and I just wanted to share this here. Make your inner speech match your fulfilled desire.
Mm-hmm.
For your inner speech is manifested all around you in happenings. So what you say to yourself and what you're focused on, you're creating all around you. Just look. You look at your results, you look at what you're creating, and you will see yourself. So if any man offend not in word, the same as a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. So here we go. Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. So a horse is strong, pure muscle. Mm-hmm. You have this little thing to direct them where they're going. That's your inner speech. That's your focus. That's connected to the law of transmutation. This is why it's so important. And there's another example here. Behold, also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven by fierce winds, yet they are turned about with a very small helm. So think of those ships. They're turned with this little steering wheel, or old school pirate ships, those big helms, right? So you're taking this massive machine and it's being directed. That massive machine or ship is you, like you're thinking, right? And your focus is the helm, if you will. So whithersoever the governor listens, even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. And behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. So those are just amazing examples. I really wanted to share that part, because it reminded me of, focusing your thoughts on what you're creating. which is connected to, what we're sharing here with that law. And a little flame from a candle can burn down. It can turn into this whatever, right? So that's the power of that one thought, that little thought you sustain every day, waking and before you go to sleep, when you wake up, and know that, that thought you're creating with it, and it's being transmutated into your physical experience in life. So that was about 4 minutes. I just wanted to share that there.
Awesome.
So, we started with the law of divine. I'm sorry, Paul?
No, I said it's all good, Jamel. It's all very, very important what you're saying. So you don't have to apologize for taking 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So we started with the law of divine oneness. We're all connected to one source, right? And we talked about being a 3-part being, and we are all spiritual beings, all of us. That's what we are. And that's actually the transmutation. We go from spirit into the physical. We are physical representations of physical spiritual energy, or just energy, if you will. You can do science or theology. It doesn't matter what your preference is, but we're all connected to one source. And when you're transmuting things from not unseen to seen, you're actually taking that divine oneness and molding it into what you desire. And I'll let anybody else jump on the next couple ones if you want to highlight the other universal laws.
Yeah, so that was the law of divine oneness. The next one, I'm just going by our notes here, was the law of vibration. So this is what we were also this is why you start to see how everything's interconnected. Everything in the universe at its core is in a constant state of motion and vibration. Everything. This is why it's important to be aware of how you're thinking and feeling, mostly how you're feeling, because our thoughts, like Paul mentioned, we may have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Some of them, they're all energy, but depending on which ones you focus on, you give those thoughts more energy. The other ones are just kind of fleeting thoughts. So it's how, again, like I mentioned earlier, our energetic signature. And I always, when I work with clients, I tell them, always protect your frequency box. This is why it's important to be aware, because awareness changes everything. To be aware of the frequency, the vibrations that that we're all sending out, because individually we're all doing it, but also collectively we are doing it. This is how markets shift, the economy and market shifts. It's through collective vibration, collective frequency. And I think it was Jamel or maybe Paul that mentioned it, that we really have been conditioned to think negatively more so than positively. So the law of vibration reminds us that we are to be aware of the frequency, because everything is always in motion. And as I stated earlier, energy responds to direction. So be aware of how you are directing your vibration. Paul, you want to give us the law of attraction?
Yeah. So the law of attraction became sort of a buzzword. And as Bob told us, the law of attraction is a secondary law. It's a secondary law to the law of vibration. And the law of attraction follows the law of vibration because attraction is the response to the vibration. Vibration is the cause, and the attraction is the effect. So the law of attraction states that like attracts like. So you attract into your life people, opportunities, circumstance results that are in harmony with your dominant vibration. It's not really based on what you want. It's based on what you are. And we often hear that line, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. So your consistent thoughts, your emotions, your identity, that all creates a vibrational state. And your life responds to that by bringing into your experiences that which matches that state. So the law of vibration is teaching us that everything is in constant motion and everything carries a frequency. So the law of attraction explains that, it explains the natural result of that frequency. So matching frequencies are drawn together. Just as, if you have like a tuning fork, and another tuning fork of the same frequency begins to vibrate, your internal state influences what you notice, what you allow into your life, and what you experience. So you don't just attract things randomly. It's not just random. You're actually attracting things which are in harmony with your dominant state of being. So that's why it's really important to be aware of what you're thinking. When you're feeling something, go back, trace back. What is it? What is it you're feeling? So you don't attract what you want, you attract what you're aligned with. So if someone desires success, but their identity identifies with lack and limitation or doubt or unworthiness, then the results will reflect that that will reflect, that internal conflict with which you have. So, but when you shift your identity, then, when a person sees themselves as being capable and deserving, then the decisions start to change, their energy changes and the results follow. So attraction isn't something that you do. It's actually something that you allow through your alignment. Jamel.
I love this. We can talk about this forever. That's so good, Paul. So have we talked about the law of action? We talked about that one?
I think the next one is correspondence, relativity, and polarity. So why don't you take correspondence? We're just doing it in the order that we did it on Coach's Corner.
Okay. Law of correspondence, you mentioned?
Mhm.
Correspondence.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just make sure, because the notes are, because I had a different one queued up here.
Okay, then do the one you have queued up. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Law of action. Basically, that's the force behind all progress and change, right? There's nothing without action. You can sit on a hill and visualize and get into the frequency of whatever it is that you desire, but you must act to receive. You must, because we have a physical part of us in the physical world. To receive a physical thing, we must have action, right? Action basically is part of the creative process.
Mm-hmm.
It starts in imagination. You fantasize what you really want in your life, where you want to go in your life, right? And fantasy turns into basically a goal or a theory first, and then a goal. And then you have to basically, the body naturally expresses the action as you impress your subconscious towards whatever it is that you desire. So action, thoughts and intentions alone are simply not enough. Action must be employed in order for there to be a reaction to manifest things on our planet, right? The good news is the law of vibration sets up the emotional feeling in the body for it to take action. So basically, you have to get emotionally involved about your dream, your goal. And that way, action is not forced. Force always negates. If you look at nature, everything happens effortlessly. It's fluid, and you don't have to force things. So did you want me to do another one, or is that good?
Go ahead. I'll take over with the law of correspondence.
Okay.
So the law of correspondence is very similar to the law of attraction. But what I learned is that the law of attraction is more something of manifesting something that you kind of want. With the law of correspondence, what it says is as within, so without, as above, so below. And our current reality, whatever it is that we're experiencing, is just a mirror reflection of what's going on within us. It's being our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs are being outpictured in our external world. So it has a direct correlation to our inner world. It's showing us our thoughts, our beliefs, and our patterns. And it's very easy to see it in other people. It's so easy for us to observe other people, how they think, how they feel, how they behave, and the again the correlation between what they're experiencing in life, their results, the effects, the outcomes, to their kind of personality. You can see the connection. But with ourselves, it's very difficult because we're not watching ourselves constantly. So this is why to look, to observe, to really see what it is that our results are, and not get personally involved and just go, oh, this is just my inner world being reflected back to me. But all of this takes study and understanding. Again, this is why Paul and Jamel mentioned why mentorship is so vital. But so that's the law of correspondence. Paul, law of cause and effect.
Oh, I've got.
I know,
Sorry, I
I
have
know.
law.
I'm gonna go by the list here. I know, sorry.
Do whatever you choose, Paul. Whatever
All right.
one you want.
Okay, I have the law of relativity up next, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to say that so the law of relativity is that nothing has any meaning except the meaning that we give to it. So everything is relative. So the law teaches that our experiences are neutral until we compare them, or until we interpret them, until we assign meaning to them, right? I can say, oh, the weather's terrible today, or the traffic's terrible. And you could look at me and say, oh, that's nothing. You should have seen the other day, or you should have seen the traffic I have to deal with. That's bad. So there's nothing that's really good or bad in absolute terms, but only through our perception, and shaped through comparison. So two people can face the same situation, and one sees a setback and the other sees a lesson, right? So the circumstances may be the same, but the meaning assigned to them is totally different. And that meaning determines our emotional response. And that meaning will influence our decision-making and subsequently our future results. So relativity gives you emotional control and resilience. So when you understand that law, then you can stop asking yourself, why is this happening to me? And you can start looking at it and saying, okay, what does this mean? And how do I choose to see it? So if everything is relative and meaning is assigned, then another truth would emerge, in that every situation contains more than one perspective, which would take us to the law of polarity. But maybe Jamel has something else queued up.
The law of relativity has become one of my favorite laws. I just wanted to throw that in. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. I love it. So law of cause and effect. Every action, has an equal and opposite reaction. This is huge. They're all massive, right? For every cause, there's a like effect, and vice versa. So this means that whenever an object moves or pushes or presses another object, the second object reacts by returning the same amount of force. wow, energy moving will create an exact energy in return to sender. So the universe is giving you what you're putting out, and everything has a cause. And I mean, every cause has an effect. So your effect, you can see it if you really observe. Just be objective.
Mm-hmm.
Your outside world is a reflection of the inside. So you are the cause of everything in your life. And it always starts with your thinking, and feelings follow thinking. It's interesting because you can't think a sad thought and feel happy. It's always telling you it. And spirit energy is always telling you, where your focus is. And the law of cause and effect is, Emerson called it the law of laws, because once you really understand it and apply it every day, you become a creative powerhouse. You create what you want. You're in control of your life. I smile because it's that simple. You're the master of you. Who wouldn't want to be that? So let's do another law.
Okay, how about the law of compensation? So this law states that every effort has a reward, and every investment reaps its own personal profit. And so this is, again, what are we investing our personal attention to? And individuals receive in kind what they give to the world. Bob Proctor, our mentor, stated that the law of compensation, he puts it this way: number one, a need for what you do; number two, your ability to do it; and number three, the difficulty in replacing you. So number one, the need for what we do, most likely there is a need for whatever it is that you do. Number two, your ability to do it. This is what we really have the ability to control, if you will. Number three, the difficulty in replacing us. So, which brings us really back to number two. How do we value ourselves, and how do we bring that value to the world? Paul.
Thank you, Lou. I'm going to come into the law of polarity, which I had just previously spoken about, the law of relativity. And so the law of polarity, it says that everything has an opposite. So there's an inside, there's an outside, there's an up, there's a down, there's fear, and there's confidence, success and failure, light and dark. And so all those things, they're not separate. So up and down are not separate. Fear and confidence are not separate. They're just two extremes of the same thing. And they're just on a scale. So polarity teaches that opposites are simply different degrees on that same scale or that same spectrum. So fear and courage aren't different in nature, they're just different in intensity. So a lack of abundance is not, or lack and abundance are not separate, they're just points along that same scale. So you can transform your experiences by shifting along that scale. Well, and that's where your true empowerment happens. If fear exists, you have to know that confidence also exists. If doubt exists, certainty is also there. It's available for you. If a problem exists, there is a solution along that same field, along that same scale. So you're never truly stuck. You're simply positioned on one end of the spectrum or somewhere along that scale, if that's where you are. So instead of trying to eliminate that negative state that you're in, you have to recognize, its opposite. You have to consciously move towards that opposite, right? By consciously thinking, we're talking about thinking, you have to consciously move towards that. So you have to shift your focus, and you have to shift your language, and you shift the meaning. And so you don't fight darkness, you introduce light into that. Jamel.
Beautifully said. Beautifully shared there, Paul. That was good. So did we do the law of attraction yet?
I think we have
Yeah.
rhythm and gender.
Oh, rhythm and
The
gender.
last two,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's do the law of gender, right? So everything from the tiniest atom to the grandest galaxy possess dual aspects. So this is the law of gender. There is masculine and feminine energies, right? And they complement each other. All of us have both energies, masculine and feminine, right? It's so funny. I have long hair, and people might say that's a feminine energy. But male energy, bold, assertive, action oriented, right? Embodies qualities such as strength, logic, ambition, drive, etc. It's the spark that propels us into action, right? So feminine energy is like nurturing and receptive, intuitive, and embodies qualities such as empathetic, compassion, creativity, and intuition. So essentially, the feminine energy reminds me a lot of the subconscious mind, and masculine energy is conscious mind, right? Together they form a dynamic equilibrium, give and take, push and pull. Every individual possesses both masculine and feminine qualities within their unconscious, regardless of biological sex or gender. So basically, they're part of you, and they both support each other, and you're in total harmony when you utilize both in sequence. And when I say that, and you actually do it without knowing it, it's just there. And we create with both of these energies things we don't want and things we do want. So your consciousness is aware of what you're doing, but a lot of times we don't understand these type of energies with the law of gender. So it's a very unique universal law. But hopefully I gave that some justice to help you kind of understand it a little bit.
Did a great job. Thank you. And we're going to wrap it up with the, since we already did the perpetual transmutation of energy, we'll wrap it up with the law of rhythm. So this law says that everything has a natural ebb and flow, a rhythmic pattern that actually governs existence. There's cycles, there's patterns, and this is the dance of life itself. When you watch, I love documentaries as well. And when I watch a documentary, depending on when it takes place, I can see the patterns of just life. I was watching Johnny Cash the other night, a documentary on him, and it was about not only about him, but where he was raised and when he met President Nixon and during the Vietnam War. So you can see just how patterns of life happen. There's time of peace. There's time of disruption. The economy, is good, but then there's a recession and then there is a regrowth. So when you understand that there's a law of rhythm, this is one of the laws that can be a little challenging because we want things to happen quickly. And how do we know we're in a cycle individually? So this can be the invitation where patience and faith are called upon, and trusting the process, but by, again, taking action, being aware of your thoughts and emotions and how you're showing up, being aware of the results that you're experiencing, that we're experiencing, and understanding that everything, once again, we're all operating within these laws. And it can be a little challenging. I think with the law of rhythm, for me, This one's probably one of the most challenging ones because, again, I want things to happen more quickly. But knowing that this law exists, knowing that we operate within it, this reminds me to pause, to still operate within the other laws, action, correspondence, vibration, attraction, etc., but to also understand this too is a law. And I am reminded, I think I mentioned this last when we discussed it, when I look outside and I look at the trees, when I look at the ocean, the tide coming and going at night, the sun comes up, the sun goes down, the trees, they change leaves, the colors. This reminds me that I live within a universe that has patterns and rhythms and cycles.
Wow, this has been an amazing session.
Yeah, it's been a great session, this universal laws. I'm excited to doing next week, Jamel.
Well, first of all, I'm so grateful to share this amazing, it's not even material, right? This guidance for everyone to really understand themselves and the laws that we're part of, and just to create a better life for yourself and your family. It's interesting how we walk around and not know these things. And Lou sparked 2 questions I can present here before we close. Look at that, 111. This is so good. First of all, how long does it take to manifest something in someone's life? What is the time period? Whoever wants to answer that.
The law of gestation.
Everything already exists. Everything exists. Everything's. Oh, sorry.
No. But I was just saying, with
already
the law
been
of
created.
gestation, like we know that a carrot may take 70 days to grow. A rose bush may take, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. But with the goal, the law of gestation, even though the goal exists, like Paul was starting to say, and I'll let him finish up, we don't know.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is like everything has already been created. So everything already exists. Everything that you want for yourself is there, but it's as Jamel said, believe in the unseen. So it's not just saying affirmations or wanting something. You do have to take action towards that, but it's that thought mirrors your belief, your real belief, then it will manifest quicker. But when you have doubts and fears, then you interrupt that thing coming to you, whatever it is that you want. So you have to not just say things and not just have affirmations, but it's through repetition, right? Through spaced repetition and repeating something. Like Jamel talked about planting a seed. You plant a seed and you have to nurture that seed. It's springtime here. So you nurture that seed, right? You feed it. So you have to feed your idea and believe in that idea. So you plant a seed, you believe that's going to come up as whatever that seed is. That acorn becomes an oak tree, that grass seed becomes grass, that corn becomes corn. And you just believe that. So when you plant your seed, what is your level of belief? And, too often our default setting is on the negative. I don't see it happening. I don't believe that's happening. I say this, but I don't truly believe it. So then you're creating, as Jamel also said, force negates. So it's, the power of your belief that everything already exists for you. And so, when you pray or when you ask or when you affirm something, then the strength of your belief will bring that towards you a lot quicker. Jamel.
Oh, so good. So good. I wanted to ask those questions to kind of help out our viewers as well, because I know, like Lou mentioned, sometimes you want things to hurry up and get here, and we are the source of it all. We really are. And it's our belief and the energy we put into it, like we all shared here, and focus. And how do you believe something you can't see? You're choosing faith every time. And this is why, we're here to help you plant these seeds, help you determine what seeds are you planting, for one, right? What is it you want to grow in your plot of land of your life? And this whole session is to help you just kind of understand just a small part of your greatness and these beautiful laws that you're a part of. And we're just here to, I like that, accept your greatness. You have to accept it. Abundance is our birthright.
That's my prompt.
Being that we don't understand that is just mental conditioning and limiting beliefs that we planted a lot of things in our spiritual garden, if you will, that doesn't serve us and that we really don't want. So we're here to help you, as you know. So feel free to reach out to any of us, if any of this resonated with you and you want some change in your life. And life is so short. It really is. Take action. Remember that part, law of action? Just take a simple action. And, there's no cost to talk to us. And we love sharing this material as we're here. And we have something very special for next Coach's Corner. We're moving on to a very powerful book. And we'll keep you on edge. It's a cliffhanger. We're not going to tell you what it is. Okay? Because it's extremely powerful.
I was going to show it, so I'm glad you said that.
Don't spoil it, Lou.
Okay.
Maybe show the back of it. I don't know. Some people might know. But, it's all about growth and creating what you want and living a happier life and fulfilled and knowing what you're doing rather than just being tossed about in the waves of the oceans of life. Now you're controlling it. Mm-hmm. So any last words, anybody?
I'm just grateful for Coach's Corner. This has, I think, been an amazing session. I hear more people talking about universal laws now because they are vital. So very grateful for the people that have joined us, sent in comments, questions. So thank you all. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
I'm grateful for you, my colleagues. I'm grateful for you, the listener, and sharing this material. And, these laws that we've talked about, they're working, whether you believe it or not. They're working every day, whether you're aware of them or not. So we're hoping to bring to you or impress upon you, the power of awareness, to be aware of your thinking and to be aware that it all starts with your thinking. And that's going to, change your thinking, change your results. And thank you again for being here. Jamel.
Yeah, thank you again, all that tuned in live, all those that watched the replay, and especially those that actually take a small action towards their future that they want by contacting us. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.